What we do here is go back.
All right. Welcome back to the Bray and Ethan podcast. Hope everyone has had a happy new year and a safe Christmas. And we're back to 2022. I'm Bray Loveridge with Ethan Roth, of course, for a second year of the Bray and Ethan podcast. And we're starting off 2022 with a bang, Ethan.
That's right, Bray. Happy New Year. Wow, 79 test matches for Australia, scoring 19 centuries at an average of 51.52. 185 ODIs for Australia with 3 centuries at 48.15. He's had a lot of success around the world, including in the IPL, BBL, and of course is part of the Fox cricket commentary team. One of the greats of Australian sport, also known as Mr. Cricket. It's Mike Hussey. Mike, welcome. Happy Australia Day.
Thanks, Ethan and Bray. Yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Pleasure
happy
to have you on.
You guys too.
Yes. It has been a busy few months for you, so we can't thank you enough for coming on. We'll touch on the BBL a bit later, but firstly, a dominant summer by Australia in the Ashes. Do you have a favourite moment from the Ashes summer?
Oh, that's hard. That's a hard one to start off straight off the bat. There's been so many great memories, really, from the series. Probably the one that stands out the most to me was at the MCG, Scotty Boland getting 6 for 7 from 4 overs, and It was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and watching him walk down towards fine leg and the crowd going nuts. You know, that must have been pretty special for a local Victorian player to be able to do something like that in a Boxing Day test, which, you know, for any Australian, you know, it's a dream come true to play in a Boxing Day test, but for a Victorian, it's even more special. So, and for him, he comes across as just such a nice, humble, sort of kind, gentle guy. You know, he's not arrogant or anything like that. And it was great to see.
Yeah, for sure. Even there was a few Ashes moments. Obviously, the first ball of the summer, Mitchell Starc, obviously stands out. That was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, there was so many. You know, Usman Khawaja coming back and scoring twin hundreds. Travis Head, 150 in the first test. I think he got his 100 off about 80 balls, and then even the way he batted down in Hobart as well on a tough pitch there. So I don't know. There's so many. You know, Pat Cummins, the way he bowled throughout the series, you can't keep track of them all. Unfortunately, there wasn't too many brilliant moments for England, probably apart from in the Sydney Test, where they batted really well. Bairstow made a great 100. But yeah, unfortunately for the contest, we wanted to see a few more English moments as well.
Yeah, for sure. Still haven't won, obviously, in over a decade. So yeah, seems to be the same old stuff, I guess. 5-0, 4-0, 4-0, I think the last home series has been. But we'll take you back to the start. We'll get back to the cricket later. I'm sure you've explained it probably 1,000 times before, but growing up in the backyard, obviously, brother Dave, what was that like, and when did you discover that cricket was for you?
Well, funny enough, my dad didn't really like cricket. He was an athletics man. So he wanted us, you know, going to little athletics and things like that. But Dave and I, we just love cricket. You know, we started in the backyard. And they were pretty brutal test matches, really. That's probably where we got our competitive spirit. But if there was a spirit of cricket back in those days, I think we would have been banned for life, because there was punch-ups, there was cheating, there was bribery, there was all kinds of stuff going on. You know, in that backyard, where we were desperate to win, and as I said, that's probably where we got our competitive spirit. So it was good fun. I think we probably, you know, got our love from the game from watching on TV. I must admit, I loved Alan Border, and I remember watching him bat one day in a Test match for Australia, and then getting out in the backyard, and I was a right-hander for until I was about 8 or 9 years of age, but I wanted to be like AB, so turned around to bat left-handed out in the backyard with Dave, because I wanted to be AB.
Yeah, that's been tough.
And you earned a scholarship to the Australian Cricket Academy after school and played a lot for WA and overseas in England, where you did it all. How do you look back on your success before your international career?
It was such a great journey. I must admit, I've been very fortunate to be able to come through the pathway, through the junior pathway at Wanneroo, where I first, you know, learnt the game, really. You know, that was a great club to be a part of. Coming through the ranks there and meeting my batting coach, who was the club coach, Ian Kevin. So I worked with him for basically the majority of my whole career, really, from about 16 or 17 years of age, and the amount of time that he put into me, the friends that I made at Wanneroo. certainly, I've still got good friends from there now. So it's, it was fantastic, playing in those sort of early days, and then getting the opportunity to go to the cricket academy was one of the best experiences of my life. Coming together with some of the better players from around the country and having intense cricket training. It really, helped improve my game. We got access to some great coaching along the way as well. It was really competitive because obviously all the guys were very driven to do well, and so I thoroughly enjoyed it. We had a great time as well. We built a great bond and formed a real team. We went on a tour to Pakistan together, which brought us even closer together, and then we got to play all the second 11 state teams from around the country. So, it really helped the development of us all as cricketers, and I guess it was designed at that stage to try and be the finishing school to get players ready to play first-class cricket. So, yeah, not too long after that, I was lucky enough to get picked for Western Australia and start that journey there. Unbelievable journey for WA as well. Went through a lot of ups, and we won Sheffield Shields and won day titles probably early in my career. And then there was lots of downs as well, where I sort of struggled for form and ended up getting dropped from the WA team at one stage and then having to fight my way back, to finally get picked for Australia. But so really enjoyed that journey, learnt a lot along the way from some legends of WA cricket like JL and Tom Moody and Damien Martin, Gilly, Brendan Julian. That was sort of my sort of era coming through. And so I was very lucky to play. But I have to say that county cricket was something that I really enjoyed as well, and certainly helped me improve my game out of sight. So I felt like when I was playing for WA, I was a decent first-class player, but not ready for international cricket. And having the opportunity to go over and play county cricket, where you're literally just batting every day, you're batting in different conditions, on different pitches, lots of one-day cricket. I hadn't played much spin. Coming from the whacker, it's all pace and bounce. And so you go. I played for a county that we had three spinners: Monty Panesar, Graham Swan, and another guy called Jason Brown, who was arguably better than those other two. And so we played on turning pitches. So I got to learn how to play spin, and so playing county cricket really helped develop my game again. And then once I'd had sort of a few years of that, I felt as though my game was ready, for international cricket.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of triple centuries as well in county. That always helps.
Yeah, some very flat batting pitches, I've got to say, over there at various stages, and it was good fun.
You didn't make your Test debut until the age of 30. It's very well documented, and I feel like it's becoming a lot more common these days. You look at someone like an Alex Carey, even someone like Sam Billings, although his circumstances were different. I know it's not the same for everyone, but do you think waiting a bit longer is more beneficial? Because, some players do get thrown in at a young age. They might fail and then they, never make it back.
Yeah, well, personally, I think so. But, I would have loved to have an opportunity earlier in my career. But as I said, I wouldn't have been ready. And yeah, some of the guys that get picked for Australia, they come in, they're young players. They don't know their game yet. And making the jump from Shield cricket up to international cricket, it's a big jump. Not so much in the standard. There is a jump in standard, of course, but it's dealing with all the external distractions. There's so much more media involved. There's more sponsors involved. There's more people that want your time. There's commentators that are analysing your technique and pulling it to pieces. And there's a lot more scrutiny on the players. And that's really difficult to deal with. Even as a 30-year-old coming in, I had to take some time to try and understand how that all worked and come to grips with that. But at least at that age, I'd had a lot of cricket behind me and I had a good understanding of my game. So I do feel for some of these young guys that come in that have to deal with the external stuff, but they also don't have a good grasp on their own game. They might have some natural talent, but that's only going to get you so far. So I felt as though, having a good grounding through county cricket and obviously first-class cricket in Australia gave me a better chance of having consistent success at international level. It was still a big challenge, obviously, but it gave me a better chance.
Yeah, and you did make your Test debut in 2005 against the West Indies. How much of a special moment was not only this, but also to score your first Test 100 in the next Test match?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was obviously a huge thrill to play Test cricket. I must admit, I didn't handle the emotions well at all. I was, Yeah, I still remember it all happening. I remember I was on standby for Justin Langer. He's got a broken rib at that stage, and so we're at training. I'm sort of just back up waiting to see if he's going to play or not. And I remember him saying to me, he came out of the nets and I walked in and he just said, "Mate, I'm no good. You're in. Good luck." And I remember, I think I got out the first 5 balls that I faced in the nets because I couldn't think straight. My head was spinning and buzzing, thinking, "Wow, I'm finally going to play a test match for Australia." And I remember getting to the game in the morning and I was feeling pretty relaxed, but I got presented my cap by Bill Brown, who was 95 years old and the oldest living Australian test player at that stage. And I was feeling great, thinking, how good's this? I've got my baggy green. But then Ricky went out and did the toss and we were going to be batting in like about half an hour's time. And I was opening the batting with Matty Hayden. So that's when everything started to change. The nerves kicked in, the butterflies started. We did the national anthem. And about halfway through that, I lost all feeling in my legs, which wasn't a good sign. And then raced off to get my pads on, went to the toilet for about the 35th time. And Warney was actually really good. He was in the toilets. He just had his little underpants on, smoking a cigarette. And he just said, "Mate, look, I know you're nervous, but you got nothing to prove to anyone in this dressing room. Just go out there and play your way and you can't fail." And that was great of Warney to say that, but it certainly didn't help my nerves. And so, yeah, as I was walking out, I remember just being all over the place. And I remember tapping my bat down to face my first ball. And Fidel Edwards was the opening bowler for the West Indies. He had a long run up. And that's when my mind started to fail me as well. So I was tapping my bat and he started his run up. And my mind started to wander off to thinking about playing in the backyard with Dave and the brutal battles we used to have. And then, of course, my cricket head would sort of come back in and say, "For goodness sake, bloody concentrate. You're about to face your first ball in Test cricket." And sure enough, my mind wandered off again to playing for Western Australia and getting dropped from the WA team and having to work my way back in. And then again, my cricket head, came in and said, "Bloody hell, concentrate. You're about to face your first ball." And then the last memory I had was just as he's about to deliver the ball, I actually started to get tears in my eyes. And I thought to myself, you can't be seen crying, your first ball in Test cricket. And thankfully, he bowled me this bouncer and it went past my eyebrows. And so I was able to survive. But I'm sure if he had to put the ball on the stump's first ball, I don't think I would have even seen it. So, as I said, I didn't handle the emotions well at all. But it was a great experience in that first Test match. And emotions you wouldn't take away. You wouldn't have it any other way. But at the end of that Test, I did have that sort of feeling inside, right, okay, I'd love to get another opportunity to play, just to prove to myself that maybe I can succeed at that level, because I didn't get any runs in that first Test. And thankfully, yeah, as you mentioned, the second Test in Hobart, I was a lot more relaxed and I could, go on and get 100, which was nice.
Yeah, it's funny going back to what you said about Warney, that, no matter what anyone says to you, you're not going to feel any better.
Oh, mate, Warney was unbelievable to play with. And that was part of, why I was so excited to be out there in that first Test match, because I'm on the same field as some of the greatest players that have ever played the game. You've got McGrath, you've got Ricky Ponting, Adam Gilchrist, Matty Hayden, you've got Brian Lara's on the other team. And then, of course, you got Warney. And I remember during that Test match, someone had been off the field, so I snuck into third slip, and Warney was explaining how he was going to get out Ramnaresh Sarwan, the next over that he was bowling. And he said, "I'm going to bowl a leggy on leg stump, I'm going to bowl a leggy on middle stump, I'm going to bowl a leggy on off stump, and then I'm going to throw one really wide, and then the fifth ball of the over, I'm going to go the flipper and get him out LBW." And I thought, wow, good plan. So sure enough, next over, I'm under the helmet, short leg. Sarwan's facing Warney. First ball, perfect leg spinner right on the leg stump, and I pick it up and throw it to Warney. But with Warney, it's all about the gamesmanship as well. So he starts talking to short cover, making sure Sarwan can hear it. "Ricky, come in a few steps, mate. Round to your left. Yeah, that's it. Yep, it's coming to you, mate." And then he'd walk past the umpire and go, "Ball 5, LBW, make sure you're ready," just quietly. So then, sure enough, next one, beautiful leg spinner on middle stump, defends. I pick it up, throw it back to Warney. He's talking to Ricky at short cover, come in a couple more. Next ball, perfect leg spinner on off stump. He defends again. And so you can see what he's doing. He's just trying to drag him across the crease, setting him up for the LBW. So then he bowls the big loopy one outside off stump. He goes for the drive and hits it sort of just above the turf, but lands short of Ricky, and he's like throws his hands in the air, and he's like, "Oh, I told you, Ricky, come in a bit more. It's coming to you." Sarwan can hear all this going on. He walks back past the umpire, whispers, "Here we go, LBW." Comes in, and I'm at short leg, just thinking, "Wow, this is unbelievable." Bowls the backspinner or the flipper, and Sarwan's looking for the ball over the offside, so he's falling across the crease. He managed to get a little inside edge onto the pad, and he survived. But at that moment, I just remember standing there in the middle of the gabba and just thinking, "Wow, how good's this? This is unbelievable." He's had this plan. He set it up. He's created the drama and all that sort of stuff around, and he was able to execute it. And I just remember thinking, "Wow, how lucky am I to be on the same field with these guys to watch them go about it."
Yeah, definitely. The next year was huge for you, particularly in ODIs, where you won the ICC ODI Player of the Year and were the top-ranked batsman in the world in ODI cricket. Do you think this is why you perhaps told Cameron White to not run threes in 50-over games?
No, that's not the reason. I remember that actually quite vividly. It was early in the season. We were playing up in Darwin, I think, against Bangladesh, and it was so hot. And I'd been out there for quite a period. And he was new to the crease, and I was absolutely cooked. And he hit one out towards the boundary. We had to run a three, and I had nothing left. So unfortunately, the stump mics picked it up. That I said, "Mate, no more threes. Just hit fours or sixes, please." So yeah, it was quite funny. But no, I don't know what happened in that year. I think I was lucky in one day cricket. I had a lot of not outs, which probably bumped the average up more than what it probably should have been. And I was sort of in a great team where, I don't know, it was just all new and exciting and fun. And I was just like, soaking up every moment because, it was just, everything was a bonus. Every game was a bonus, and I was never taking anything for granted. So I think that's probably a bit of the secret, really. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just relax, enjoy it, and, just go out there and give it everything you got, and what will be, will be.
Yeah, now on to the 2006-7 Ashes series where you guys absolutely pumped England 5-0. The most memorable of those test matches was obviously amazing Adelaide, where you hit the winning runs. Where does this rank in the games of cricket you've been a part of?
Oh, that's probably the hitting the winning runs in that test is probably the best feeling I've ever had on a cricket field, bar none. It was just amazing, just because the way that test match played out, where England got 550, we got 500. They were ahead by about 80 or 90 in the coming into the last day. No one gave us a chance of winning, and I didn't give us much of a chance of winning either. I think, the public thought it was going to be a draw. The whole world thought it was going to be a draw. But we had a team meeting on day 5 in the morning, and it was led by Warney, Ricky and John Buchanan, the coach. And they basically just said, "Look, we can bloody well win this test, but we've got to believe we can win this test." And Ricky sort of said, "Look, as a group, we need to figure out how we want to go about this. Do we go all out attack? We've got to get these last 9 English wickets before we can chase down the runs. We'll set attacking fields. Bowlers just go for wickets every ball. We might go for a few extra runs, but we need to get those last 9 wickets. So we can go that way, or as a team, we can go, let's just squeeze them. Let's just build the pressure up on these guys, give them nothing. They might feel the pressure. We might get a lucky wicket here or there. And that's the way we decided to go as a team. And we were lucky. Warney bowled, 2 sessions non-stop from one end. And then Ricky could rotate the fast bowlers from the other end. We got a bit lucky. I think the first wicket was a bad decision. We got a run out. So the belief started to grow with us, and they started to feel the pressure a bit. And when we bowled them out, we had to chase down, I can't remember, 160 odd or whatever it was in the last session. It was sort of game on. And the crowd started swelling as well. And they were making so much noise, and we were just counting the runs down one by one. And as I said, to be out there to hit the winning runs was just unbelievable. And I couldn't believe it.
Now, fast forward to 4 years later to the 2010-11 Ashes. There was a lot of pressure on you leading up to the first test. People saying, you're too old, you should be out of the side, etc. You got dropped first ball in that first innings at the Gabba, but then end up making 195. That must have been a big weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, it was a fair bit of pressure coming in to that series, I must admit. I remember actually, I'd played at 2 Sheffield Shield games in the lead up to that series, and against South Australia I got out for a duck and won. And then in the first innings in Melbourne, we played Victoria, and I got a duck as well. So the funny thing was, I actually felt like I was hitting the ball well, like at training and in the nets. But I just found ways to get out. So I was really frustrated, and even the selectors sort of came over and said, mate, we'd like to pick you, but can you score some bloody runs, you know? So I was feeling the pinch a little bit. And then I remember in the dressing room when I was playing for WA in that last Shield game, there was an Australia A game going on down in Hobart. And for some reason, the commentators were talking and we had the volume up. And Michael Slater was saying, nah, Hussey's got to go. We've got to get in Kawaja or Ferguson, you know, give him a go. And, you know, he's too old. Let's get rid of him. And I remember thinking, yeah, right, no worries. Stuff you, Michael Slater. And thankfully, I got 100 in the second innings in Melbourne. So I don't know if they would have dropped me or not, but if I hadn't got runs, but it managed to keep me in the team and in the squad. And I remember, as I said, I was batting quite well. And I remember in the lead up to that, I was thinking, no, I'm going all right. You just need a bit of luck, you know. And I must admit, I used that Michael Slater sort of commentary as a little bit of motivation. So every single time I tapped my bat in that whole series, I said, stuff you, Michael Slater. And as you mentioned, I was a bit lucky. Like the first ball of that series, I got a nick. I thought it landed just short of second slip, but you might be right. It might have just carried. I'm not sure, but that was just a little bit of luck that I needed early in my innings. And yeah, thankfully, I was able to go on and get a good score. And then once you get a big score early in a series, you feel like you can just relax a bit and you can just say, okay, right, I know I'm feeling good now. I'm batting well. I've got a good score, and you just sort of play well from there.
Was there any disappointment of missing out on the 200? I know it was a massive score regardless, but you did fall 5 short.
Not at the time. At the time, I was just relieved and happy to you know get the team into a good position. But I guess it's something you reflect on when you finish your career. You sort of think, it would have been nice, because I never scored a double 100 in Test cricket. So it would have been nice to do that. But at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, of course. That series is obviously the last time England won here. Although you played a role, your role from your point of view, it must have really hurt to lose an Ashes series on home soil.
Oh yeah, I talked about the best moment I've ever had on a cricket field. That's probably the worst, without doubt. You know, I remember during that last Test match, sort of going to bed and thinking, waking up in the morning and just thinking, oh, do I really have to go to cricket today? That's probably the only time in my career I started thinking, I don't want to go. They just wore us down. Really, they played brilliant cricket throughout that series and deserved to win. We certainly weren't at our best. And yeah, it was just exhausting mentally and physically. By the end of the series, we were just done. So pretty disappointing. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the history that we've got to live with. We were the last team to get beaten on Aussie soil, and to see them sort of celebrating, which they totally deserve to do. It was hard to take, for sure.
Yeah, I saw a post on Instagram recently, and it was obviously the last time England won here, and it was something like Cameron Green was 11 years old. You know, Julia Gillard was the Prime Minister. All these things that happened, but yeah, England. You know, Alistair Cook really dominated, and yeah, they were outstanding. But also in 2010, you made the T20 World Cup final off the back of an outstanding run chase from yourself in that semi-final against Pakistan. You needed over about 40 runs from less than 3 overs, and you hit multiple sixes off the last over to get it done. What was going through your mind at the time, and what are your thoughts on people comparing it to what Matthew Wade did in last year's World Cup?
Yeah, I don't know. It was that Matty Wade innings was pretty special, you know, and you sort of, to do it in a semi-final of a World Cup when, you know, everything's on the line is even more special. So that's right up there with one of the best feelings I've ever had on a cricket field as well. I think it was a bit of a strange situation, because I know the modern day player, that they can seem to get 40 or 50 off the last 3 overs, but when I was back playing T20 cricket at that stage, that was very unusual. That hardly ever happened, if ever. So once it got to that stage where we needed so many runs off the last 3 overs, I almost sort of said, oh, well, so I think once Cameron White got out, I sort of thought, we're struggling here. We're probably not going to win. And it's funny, I just sort of took the pressure off myself, really, and just thought, oh, well, let's just see how we go. We'll have a bit of a swing and, you know, see what happens. And yeah, rather than worrying about the result and thinking we're going to lose and getting all negative and down, I just thought, oh, well, let's just have a swing and see how we go. And it got down to needing, I think we needed about 18 off the last over, and Mitch Johnson got a leg bye off the first ball. So we needed 17 off 5, I think, if my memory's correct. And the guy bowling was Ajmal, and I absolutely hated facing Saeed Ajmal. He'd got me out so many times. I couldn't really pick him. He's got a great doosra. I just thought, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. But there was a couple of things in my favour. One, it was a good batting pitch. It was a short boundary on my leg side, even though he was spinning the ball away from me. And there was a huge wind blowing that way as well. So I thought, well, let's just have a swing. You never know. If I can just get the ball up into the breeze, it might carry for 6. So that was basically my plan. But I also I guessed wrong. So I thought he's got this quicker Yorker ball that he bowls. And he just gets right underneath your feet, and it's hard to get away. And that's the ball I thought he was going to bowl. So my plan was I'm just going to stay deep in my crease a little bit and wait for that Yorker and just hope that he just misses his length just a little bit, and I might be able to get underneath it and hit it back down the ground for 6. That was my thinking. But he double bluffed me, and he bowled like a really slow ball because I think he thought that I was going to charge down the pitch. So he bowled a slower ball that was turning away. And because I was hanging back in my crease, it was actually quite short. And so I was able to pull the ball, get it up high into the breeze and sort of carry it over the fence. So I thought, oh, well, that's a good start. But then I thought, well, now he's definitely going to go for this Yorker. And so I was kind of ready for it. And sure enough, he just missed his length, and I was able to get up underneath it again. And so it went for 2 6s. And so suddenly we started to think, oh, shivers, hang on, maybe we are a sneaky chance of sort of getting there. But he was actually quite cagey. The next ball he bowled, and I sort of just went for a big slash, and I got a bit lucky. It was a bit of a top edge, and it sort of just got over the fielder. But unlucky for him, it ran away for 4. So now we only need basically 1 run from 2 balls. And I'm thinking that's when all the nerves started to come back, thinking, well, shit, we should win this now. We the pressure's on me. I've got to finish this off. I can't afford to get out. We've got to win the game right now. And so I just kept saying to myself, just please, just hit the middle of the bat, just hit the middle of the bat. And I don't even remember seeing the ball come out of his hand. But I just remember it hitting the middle of the bat and just thinking, wow, we've actually done this. I can't believe we've actually done this. We're through to the final. So unfortunately, we weren't good enough in the final. England bloody knocked us off again. So it was a bit disappointing way to finish.
Yeah, no doubt. But we'll flash forward to 2012, the pink ball test in Sydney. You scored 150 not out yourself. But describe what it was like being out there with Michael Clarke when he scored 329 not out.
Mate, it was the best seat in the house to watch him. Yeah, he was playing, I think, the best I've ever seen him play in his whole career at that stage. So, yeah, it was, he was just playing some shots that I just couldn't believe he was playing. He was timing the ball magnificently. It was his home crowd as well at the SCG, so they're making a lot of noise. And I was probably just lucky just to sort of be, on his coattails, really, just, watching from the other end, but just, I don't know, rolling along. But it was a good batting pitch, and they were getting pretty tired, the poor old Indians. And so, yeah, it was pretty special to be out there with him while he got the 100.
And I can guarantee plenty of Spartan bats were purchased not long after that, thanks to Michael Clarke.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I may have been one of them that bought a Spartan bat after that innings.
Because he didn't have a sponsor for that test, did he? He had a blank bat for the 100, didn't he? That's right.
Yeah.
So, despite hitting more runs against South Africa and Sri Lanka in the next summer, you decided to retire from international cricket in that 2012-13 season. Were you sure you were making the right decision? Because you were the leader of the team song as well. So, whenever you won, that also meant you had to pass that on as well.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time, I guess. I'd made up my mind before that summer started that this was going to be my last summer. I love playing the Australian summer. I love the Aussie crowds and the Aussie grounds, and yeah, it's fantastic. So, but what was coming up after the Aussie summer was about 8.5 months away from home with tough, hard cricket. I think there was a tour to India for Test cricket. There was a trip to England for Champions Trophy one-day cricket. Then there was the Ashes, and then back to India for one-day cricket. So I think the team is going to be away for, as I said, about 8 months of the year. So that's really tough. And you have to be up for that challenge. You know, you have to be wanting that challenge and be really motivated by that cricket. And I was actually dreading that time away. So I thought if I go on this long trip away, I'm only going to let myself down. I'm going to let the country down. I'm going to let my teammates down. I know I'm not in a headspace to play my best cricket. I'm not really up for this challenge. So I knew it was the right time to retire, and that's why I decided to retire at the end of the Aussie summer. Because I was just dreading that time away from home. I must admit, my wife kept saying to me during the Aussie summer, because I was having a good season, I was scoring runs, and she just kept saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure it's time to retire? Are you sure you want to retire?" But I was sure in my own head, and I certainly don't have any regrets. Sort of looking back at it now, I don't. You know, I know I made the right decision at the time. So yeah, no, it was definitely the right time to go. And it's kind of nice to go out on your own terms, you know, and with people saying, you know, you could have kept playing for a little bit longer, rather than people saying, "Mate, you played way too long. You know, you should have given it away a year ago." So I'm quite comfortable with the decision I ended up making.
Sure.
Yeah. People might not remember, but you did play for the Perth Scorchers, and you're actually the wicket keeper and hit the winning runs in the BBL 2 semi-final, which was absolutely crazy. I remember that. But we thought we'd ask an early Q&A question from Bodie Lovegrove, who wants to know what was it like and why you left playing for the
Yeah, it's a good
Scorchers?
question. Yeah, I love playing for the Scorchers. I played 2 seasons I was with the Scorchers, but only played a handful of games because we had obviously Aussie commitments at the time. But that atmosphere in that game that you're talking about against the Melbourne Stars, that semi-final, was the noise that was made at the Wacker that day was unbelievable. So such an exciting game and loved it. I think where the motivation came for me was it was one of the toughest decisions I actually ever had to make in my whole career. I really agonised over it a lot because obviously I'm Perth boy, love WA, love the Scorchers, but I felt like at the end of my career I needed a bit of an extra challenge. You know, the Scorchers were a fantastic team right from the word go. They were well run, well led. You know, JL was the coach there, had a lot of success early on, and I could maybe play 1 or 2 seasons and just sort of do my thing. I felt like I needed something extra. So an opportunity came to go to the Sydney Thunder, where that team was basically below ground zero. You know, we were the laughing stock really of the competition. You know, we hardly won any games, weren't very well run on or off the field. And so I had an opportunity to be part of something special, to build something from the ground up and try and gain respect in the competition. I think Cricket Australia were pretty keen for the Sydney Thunder to do well as well, because it's a massive area in the west of Sydney, a huge growth area for young cricketers. So they really wanted that team to do well. And so that was my motivation. We had a group of guys on and off the field that were really motivated to build something from the ground up, as I said, and to be part of that. As I look back at it now, it was one of the best decisions I made, one of the hardest, to leave Perth and leave WA. And I knew I was going to cop a bit of stick for it, but it was one of the best decisions because I learned so much about myself as a person, and I learned so much about what it took to build a team, you know, up into something that everyone could respect, I guess, and be proud of. And I really enjoyed the 3 years. It was a tough 3 years, particularly the first 2. You know, we had a lot of heartache along the way. It took time to sort of turn things around, but to win the title in BBL 05 was one of the best feelings in my whole career.
Yeah, we'll get back to that title with the Sydney Thunder, but I remember that semi-final. I think James Faulkner bowled a no ball. Is that right? And then you know, obviously you thought it's over, bowls no ball, and then you hit a boundary to win it.
It was bizarre because I wasn't sure wasn't sure if the no ball was because he had his foot over the front line or Warney had only 3 fielders inside the 30-metre circle, but we didn't care because we were thinking, I thought, you know, maybe the game was done if he had kept his foot behind the line. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw the umpire's arm out with the no ball. So yeah, gave us a chance, and with a free hit, I thought, okay, I've just got to get something on it. I can't I can't get out, so that's a good thing. But I've got to get some bat on it so we get through for that last run to make sure we win the game. And thankfully we did the job.
Yeah, and off memory and on the footage of the game, just remember watching the replay. The ball passes you and you obviously haven't hit it, and you see the disbelief in your face. I'm pretty sure, and then you look down at the umpire, see the arm out, and just belief comes back, and the crowd loved it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I got a bit too carried away. Actually, I was yelling at the keeper. I think I was saying, "Bloody no ball! It's a no ball." I just kept saying it. I couldn't believe it was a no ball. So you've gone from agony to ecstasy all in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Suddenly you guys go to the final. But something else people might not realize is your achievements in the IPL. You became the second person to hit 100 in the competition. You won trophies, and in 2013 you were the league's top run scorer for Chennai. What do you put this down to? Because as you've sort of already touched on, you weren't really seen as a short form player, a T20 player.
Well, probably a number of things. One, I was very fortunate, first of all, to be picked up by the Chennai Super Kings. What an amazing franchise. I know the Perth Scorchers are, one of the successful teams in the world in T20 cricket, and they run it extremely well. But I tell you, Chennai Super Kings, the way they run their franchise is something very, very special. So you honestly feel as though you're part of the furniture, part of the family. They really treat their people with a lot of respect, and you want to play for them. You really do. There's some special people involved. You've got MS Dhoni as captain, unbelievable man, just an inspirational guy, but he's very quietly spoken. He likes to do things a bit differently. Stephen Fleming's been the head coach for all but 1 year of their existence, and he's a special guy as well. The way he runs the show, gets great support from the owners, who are, again, very special people. So it's a pretty special place to play for. And being involved with them, you build these special bonds. What I loved about the IPL was it just brought players from all corners of the earth into one dressing room. And so it broke down a lot of the cultural barriers, but you also get to watch and learn about how Indians prepare in Indian conditions, how they play their spinners and things like that. You watch how South Africans prepare, West Indians, New Zealanders, all players from everywhere, really, Englishmen. You can talk to them about the game, you see their philosophies, and you just learn so much from playing and talking to and learning from these guys. So it was a fantastic experience. I absolutely loved it. We were very fortunate because the environment that those leaders were able to create, we created an environment that was just built for success, really. So we did have a lot of success as individuals, but also as a team along the way. And now I'm sort of on the coaching staff now as well. So still very fortunate and grateful to be involved.
Yeah, of course. Great competition. But BBL 5, as you touched on just before, turned out to be your third season and last with the Thunder. Surely you couldn't have asked for a better finish to beat the Melbourne Stars in the final, who your brother was playing for to win the championship.
Yeah, Dave, captain of the Stars, mate, put a little extra edge on it as well. But we just had an amazing campaign. I think the first 3 games we won in the season, and we were absolutely flying. And we thought, oh wow, we're going to get through to the finals for the first time, and everything's going to be great. And then just goes to show cricket can bring you back down to earth pretty quickly. We lost our next 4 games, and so we were looking down the barrel. Thankfully, we won our last qualifying game, and another result went our way, so we managed to scrape into the finals. And I don't know, the stars seemed to align for us. We had a great team. We had some big names in that team. You got Shane Watson, you got Jack Callis, Andre Russell. So we had some really good players. But then we had Usman Khawaja come back into the team as well. He was sort of played a couple of games here or there because he was in the Aussie team, and he was just in rare form. And so he came in and he scored, I think he got 100 in the semi-final against the Adelaide Strikers, and basically just won the game off his own bat. Our bowlers did do a great job as well, don't get me wrong, but he was incredible. And then he took that form into the final, and he made, I think he got 70 odd off about 40 balls. And it would have been a challenging run chase to that, 170 odd in the final, but Uzi just sort of broke the back of it, and we were able to stay ahead of the rate the whole way. We just had a good experienced team that been in pressure situations before in their careers and we held our nerve. And I couldn't believe it. It was really great reward, for the whole club. We'd been through, as I said, we were below ground zero, and to be able to sort of slowly build it back up and get to a position where we could actually win a title was something very special for the team, but also for everyone that had been involved in the club over the years and that had gone through so much heartache.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of the Sydney Thunder, I've just got something here. Grabbed it. I remember, would have been about BBL 3, I reckon, Perth Scorchers versus, I think, obviously your first season at the Thunder. I remember probably, I think Perth, we won, but I remember after the game, everyone was like sort of lining up for your autograph, just like waiting for ages and ages, because I think it was your first game sort of back in your home state. And lucky enough, got the signature. Obviously, you probably won't remember, but just thought I'd bring it up because was pretty happy that day.
Yeah, it was a really funny day. That I found it a difficult day coming back to the Wacker in front of my home fans, but playing for a different team. I wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be like, and it was a bit mixed. I think there was a couple of people in particular got stuck right into me, and there was a few boos, but there was a few cheers as well. So I thought, oh well, that's not too bad. But it was a really awkward feeling inside, and I must admit I found it a difficult day. And obviously we didn't have a great team at that stage, so the Scorchers were far too good for us. But we were able to come back, I think, the following year and beat the Scorchers at the Wacker, which was unheard of. Back in those days, the Scorchers had such a good record. So yeah, it was a good feeling about come back and actually win a game for the Thunder at the Wacker as well.
Yeah, I do remember that. So we'll move on to the commentary side of things. Obviously, you've probably been a bit renowned for, spending a lot of time in the Fox lab. I know, especially early when, Fox cricket was just starting. But can you give us a bit of an insight into sort of the behind the scenes at Fox, and what the preparation and those sort of things are like? I know it, depends on the game. But yeah, what's the behind the scenes sort of, what does it look like?
Yeah, well, it's an amazing setup. You would not believe how many cameras and cables and how many moving parts there are. It is just absolutely phenomenal. How many TV screens and stuff that, different camera angles and whatever. It's literally like a spaceship sort of behind the scenes. It's incredible. And there's so many people involved in just being able to bring the broadcast to the public. It blew me away, really. We're quite fortunate at Fox. We've got a really good team. Good bunch of people to work with. Obviously, the commentary team gets on pretty well, and we've got a nice mix of people. We've got some women, we've got guys, we've got people that are a bit older, we've got some younger guys, we've got guys from different countries. So it's a really nice blend and mix, and I think we complement each other really well, and try and respect each other as best we can as well. Going into the lab it was a little bit daunting to start with, I must admit. But there's so much technology that they've invested in to try and, I guess the goal is to try and take the public out into the middle of the test match, and so they can try and get a sense about what it's like to be out there in the middle. And the guys working behind the cameras and working with the technology, that they are unbelievable guys, and they make me look so much better than what I possibly could be. Just with the things that they do. We have to practice quite a bit because it's quite difficult. Like the latest lab that I'm in is literally just a green room. I can't see anything else. And I'm sort of pointing to blank things where things are going to pop up, and there's going to be balls coming at me, and I've got to try and guess where they are. So we need to practice quite a few times so I'm in the right place to play a particular delivery and things like that. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging at times, but it's good, and I love it because it gives me a little separate niche to everyone else, and something that I can sort of concentrate on. And as I said, try and bring you guys out into the middle and see what it's like to face a Mitchell Stark bouncer or a Nathan Lyon ball that's turning out of the rough, and how you got to deal with it and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I don't actually see commentary as a job. I just see it as rocking up to the cricket, sitting in the best seats in the house, having a chat to the guys and girls about the game, and And yeah, and that's pretty much how I see the job. So it's an absolute pleasure, and I feel grateful to be able to do it.
Yeah, you guys do stitch each other up a bit. Maybe not yourself, but they've shown that catch that you missed, I think, on the MCG a lot of times during the summer.
Yes. Yes, there's plenty of stitch ups along the way, but that's all good. There's got to be plenty of banter. It can't be all serious stuff all the time. We want to entertain a little bit as well. And I must admit, I'm the brunt of a few jokes along the way, but that's okay. I'm happy to take it.
Yeah, it is a pretty good dream of a job, I guess you could say. But you did spend some years at Channel 9 after you stopped playing, and then back obviously at Fox. What's the difference like between the two? Obviously, Channel 9's you could say the glory of cricket commentary in Australia, and now Fox Cricket's the new up and coming network. But what's the differences like between the two?
Well, I guess, there's probably two ways to answer this. Firstly, when I rocked up at Channel 9, I was literally just straight out off the field and straight into the commentary box. And, well, that was a little bit daunting because there's some big names there. You've got Richie Benaud, you've got Bill Laurie. I didn't work with Tony Greig, you've got Ian Chappell. So these are obviously legends of the game and legends broadcasters, really. And I pretty much just get thrown in there. They didn't really show me what to do. They just said, "Get in there, you'll be right," and off you go. And so I didn't really know what I was doing to start with. Just trying to call the game with these big names. So it was a little bit daunting, I must admit, and I had to learn pretty quickly. I would say it's very similar at Fox, but we don't have the Richie Benauds and Bill Lauries anymore, obviously. But you've got your Gillies and Warnies and Michael Vaughan and Kerry O'Keefe and those sort of legends of, cricket and broadcast, I guess you could say as well. But of course, at least I've done, a number of years now of commentary. I think I've been going for, 8 or 9 years now. So I have a better understanding about what's going on and how it all works. So it was pretty daunting at the start because I had no idea what was going on. Now I feel a lot more relaxed because I understand how it sort of all works a lot more. And I can relax a bit more and just enjoy it. But the way it's sort of produced and put together is actually quite similar. There's probably a lot more technology involved now. You've got your snickos and your hotspots and, different sort of technologies that are available at our disposal. So that's probably improved quite a lot. But as far as putting it all together, it's probably pretty similar.
Yeah. So apart from commentary, you are the batting coach of Chennai in the IPL. Obviously, it would have changed due to COVID, but how much time do you typically spend on the road compared to back home in Perth during the year?
I normally spend about 2.5 months in India for the IPL, which is normally sort of mid-March to the end of May, which I absolutely love that job. It's fantastic. Great to work with those guys, and I do love coaching. So that's a lot of fun. And then I do the Fox commentary through the Aussie summer. So it's normally, I don't know, let's say it's normally December, January. It might sort of stretch a little bit further into February or start a bit earlier in November, depending on what's happened. And then around that, I try and spend as much time at home as I possibly can. So it's a lot better balance than when I was playing. When I was playing, I was away for up to 10 months of the year, which is really tough, especially with a young family. But now I sort of spend, 2.5 months and probably another 2.5. So about 5 months away from home. My wife would probably like me home a bit more than that again. But I feel like I get a lot more time around those two things at home to do whatever I want, really. So I do a fair bit of charity work as well. I'm sort of ambassador for a couple of different charities and try and do a bit of work for them and then other bits and pieces. But I try and maximise my time at home around those two major commitments.
Yeah, definitely. And so obviously the February 5 pushback date, that would have affected you in some way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, really. So can't get back obviously until February 5. So I got a bit of a scare when Mark McGowan said, "No, we're not opening up." But being a WA resident, hopefully I should still be able to get back that day. But I will have to unfortunately do 14 days quarantine, which is a bit of a pain. And I'll have to do that sort of on my own. Like I won't be able to do that sort of with the family. Otherwise they'd have to get locked down as well. And which just means we get less time together before I have to go again to the IPL, which will be probably, mid-March. So it hurts a bit, but they're the rules and they're the laws. And it's a bit of a shame, but we're going to have to live with it at some stage. But he's very strong with what he believes in, and that's fine, I guess.
Yeah. Just quickly for us, like WA residents, you've obviously spent a lot of time, I guess, overseas and over east in the last couple of years during COVID. What's it like actually living with COVID? Obviously, you had a bit of a COVID scare in the Fox cricket camp in the last week. So what's it actually like living with COVID?
Well, I actually got COVID at the IPL last year in Delhi, which wasn't much fun. I wasn't vaccinated at that stage, so it knocked me around a little bit, but it didn't feel life-threatening or anything like that. Managed to get through okay. But yeah, certainly we've been living with it. I've been in the eastern states for since basically just before Christmas. So and it's actually not too bad. You just have to be a little bit careful not to go to too many places where you're sort of clustered, inside and clustered together. We have had certainly gone through a few of the guys at Fox, but everyone's double vaccinated or triple vaccinated, so the symptoms have been very mild. They just have to remove themselves for about a week, and they get over it pretty quickly. Certainly no real long-term issues whatsoever. I haven't managed to get it again. I think I'm triple vaccinated, plus I've had it before, so I think my immunity is quite high. People over here, I'm in Melbourne at the moment, people over here are moving around, living a normal life. People that are getting or testing positive are generally speaking, very, very, very mild symptoms, and just have to isolate for a few days and then sort of can get back to work or get back to doing what they love. There are a few people obviously that are in hospital with it that, if you've got pre-existing, medical problems, then it might be a bit more of an issue. But for the vast majority, it's actually not too bad. And once we learn to live with it, as long as I think we're vaccinated, and I think we'll be absolutely fine. We just sort of probably need to now just get on with it, because we're going to have to live with it at some stage. I think Mark McGowan's done a great job to keep COVID out for as long as he has. But with the rest of the world opening up and living a normal life, we're probably getting to the stage now, in my view, that we need to sort of learn to live with it. And it'll come in, and I'm sure we'll have lots of cases to start with. But once we've sort of got through that initial stage, it should die off, and we hopefully can get back to some normal living.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Now, a couple more questions from us before we get into the ones from the listeners. I don't feel like we've said it that much so far, but the nickname Mr. Cricket, how does it sit with you?
Well, I don't feel 100% comfortable with it, but having said that, you could be called a lot worse. So I'm happy to stick with it, but I just know that there's probably hundreds of players out there that are more deserving of that tag than what I deserve to have it, whether I deserve to have it. So I don't know. It just comes from a great love of the game, really. It started in England. I was playing county cricket. I was playing at Old Trafford against Lancashire. I was playing for Durham, and Freddie Flintoff was playing for Lancashire, and Brad Hodge was the overseas player for Lancs as well. So we were playing. It was a cold, miserable day, drizzly rain, and no one really wanted to be there except for me. I was loving it. I was batting and charging between the wickets, and calling loud and running around. And Freddie Flintoff turned to Brad Hodge and just said, "Mate, this guy loves cricket more than anyone I've ever seen. He must be Mr. Cricket." And Hodgie unfortunately brought that. Would be called a lot worse.
Yeah, no doubt. Even though the BBL will probably be over once this episode does come out, but do you think the Scorchers can win on Friday regardless of who wins tonight? Obviously, we're recording this on the Wednesday, Australia Day. But where do you think the BBL is at as well? Because people don't think it's that exciting as it once was.
Well, firstly, I think the Scorchers have been the best team all season. And so, I think, they can definitely do the job. They've got a great record at Marvel as well, where their adopted home ground is for the final. They were so impressive in that previous final against the Sydney Sixers. So I'm sure they'll take a lot of confidence into the final, and I'm pretty confident they should get the job done. tonight is going to be an interesting game, the Sixers and the Strikers. The Sixers are obviously a very good team, but they're starting to have a few issues with injury, with COVID. So they're losing a few players, which is going to make it tough. And they're playing the Strikers, who have got serious momentum going. So it's going to be a really interesting game to see who comes out on top of that one to play the Scorchers in the final. I agree with you about the Big Bash, though. I feel as though it's a little bit hard to judge this season and maybe last season as well, because the impacts of COVID can't be underestimated. It's made it really difficult for teams, administrators, for scheduling. It's made it really, really tough. But I do think moving forward, they're going to have a close look at the competition and just sort of try and get that real excitement and buzz back around the comp, because it certainly hasn't been there over the last couple of seasons. As I said, there's the COVID caveat there as well, but I think it's gone probably a bit too long. I can understand why they wanted to extend it and make it as long as possible, more content, which means more money for Cricket Australia, but I think it has had a detrimental effect on the competition. I'd like to see it basically when just in the school holidays, when people are off work, and in that real sort of festive period, and keep it short and sharp and exciting. It won't, and by that we'll be able to attract the best overseas players to come to Australia. At the moment, the best overseas players are so busy as it is, they don't want to be spending 10 weeks plus having to quarantine and things like that out of their sort of year, which is so busy as it is. So we're not really attracting those top quality guns that we used to be able to do. Plus, I think it has an impact on the Sheffield Shield season and maybe one-day cricket as well. So, and I personally think that the Shield cricket is so important for the health of our Test team moving forward. If we start to, reduce the number of Shield games or put them at, not favourable times in the year, making it less of a focus, then I think that could have a detrimental effect on our Test team moving forward. So I think there's a real sort of careful balance to keep in place.
Yeah, well, speaking of that Test team, there's a trip to Pakistan around the corner. Selection has been a big talking point of the summer, both with batters and bowlers. How do you see it for this tour? Particularly, Scott Boland and Josh Hazlewood potentially fighting for a spot. And then there's other conversation whether Khawaja opens or whether someone like Pekovsky can fight his way back.
Yeah, I think the squad is pretty set, and I think they'll want to reward the guys that have done so well in the Ashes. So I don't think there'll be too many changes, to be honest. I think obviously Mitch Swepson might come into consideration. Playing in the subcontinent, it might spin a bit more. I'm not expecting it to spin too much in Pakistan, if I'm being honest. I think the fast bowlers will still play a fair role. My experience, I know it's a long time ago, but they produce good fast bowlers, Pakistan, and they play generally on very flat, fast, bouncy tracks. So spin might play a part, but maybe not as much as what everyone else is expecting. Certainly spin will come into play more in Sri Lanka and India, the two series after that. It'd be great to see Will Pekovsky score a few runs for Victoria and put his name back up there. I don't know if they'll go straight down that path. I think they'd like just take the softly, slow approach, make sure he's back to full health, full fitness and full confidence before looking to pick him in the Australian team. So I wouldn't be looking to rush him too much. And I think the crop that they've got there at the moment have all done a pretty good job. So I'd be sticking with who's there at the moment.
What about Glenn Maxwell? A lot of talk at the moment. Obviously, he's one of the only current players to score a Test match ton in India. I know it's against Pakistan. But what about Glenn Maxwell? Because there's been heaps of discussion about him.
Well, I'd be reluctant to go down that path. And the reason why I say that, I think he and Aaron Finch maybe made a decision, or a decision was made for them, that they didn't really want to play 4-day cricket anymore. So they sort of took a big step back from Sheffield Shield cricket. And I don't think we've really seen them in that form of the game for a little while now. So I think they've sort of made the decision they would like to focus more on white ball cricket, that'd be 50 overs or T20 cricket for Australia and obviously the leagues around the world. So I don't think I'd be necessarily going down that path unless Glenn Maxwell sort of came out sort of saying, look, I'm desperate to get back in the Test team and proves it by getting back and playing Sheffield Shield cricket for Victoria and obviously bashing the door down with runs. But I certainly wouldn't be looking to rush him into the Test squad, no.
Yeah, no
And
doubt. You got
just one I've thought of. Just last one. I know we keep saying last question, but Pat Cummins. I remember in that sort of opener that he did at the start of the summer, he said, obviously, Mike Hussey was sort of my mentor. How have you seen him? At obviously great start to his captaincy, but how have you seen him? Because I know a lot of people were sort of questioning whether a fast bowler can carry the load.
Oh, I think he's done a great job. I think just the way he plays the game, the smile he's got on his face, I think the way he wants to lead the team has already come through. I think, you do have to be good tactically on the field. And I think he made it very clear that while he's bowling, it's going to be challenging. So he can use the likes of Steve Smith and David Warner, I guess, out there to get things right from a tactical perspective. But I think that's one part of cricket captaincy and captaincy in itself. I think the other part of it is the leadership off the field. And he's a great character. He's a really good person. He's got good values and good morals, and he's got a good vision, I think, about where he thinks his team can go. He's a selfless sort of guy. And so I think having those character traits and attributes are going to be really important, and probably one of the reasons why I think he'll be a very good leader for Australia.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to be a great captain for the country in the next coming years. But we'll move to the Q&As from the social media on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Bray and Ethan if you want to send in one for future guests. But the first one from Taj Longmuir. Who's the best nephew, Finn, Sam or Ollie?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. That's they're all great little men already. Well, I'm going to have to go. If I have to choose one, I'm going to go for Ollie. And the reason why I say that is we share the same birthday. So we've got a little bit of a special bond there, born on the same day. But I love them all. I love them all.
Yeah. Next one is from F Marshall _22. I think we might know the answer to this one. I hope what I'm thinking is what you're going to say. But favorite ground to play at?
Well, it's difficult. It's a tough one. I've got a lot of favorite grounds. I love the Wacker, obviously, that being the home ground, and a lot of pace and bounce, great place to bat, great fans. I love the Adelaide Oval and the SCG. They're two very special test matches. I love the history and tradition of those places. I still love the Adelaide Oval now, but I preferred the old Adelaide Oval. The old dressing rooms and the old pitch there before the drop-in came. There's still the old scoreboard, which is great. Beautiful batting pitch, great place to play. SCG has still got the old change rooms and the pavilion there. That's pretty special as well. It's hard to go past Lords as well. Lords is an incredible place. Again, there's that history and tradition. You've got the beautiful old change rooms. You've got the perfect training facilities. You've got the long walk through the down the stairs and through the long room. I tell you, the other thing is the lunches at Lords. It's the best restaurant you could ever eat at. So I'm probably going to go Lords as my number one, but those other grounds I mentioned are pretty close behind.
Yeah, no doubt. So the lunches are, 5-star ratings at Lords?
Mate, I tell you what, I can tell you a few times I've been fielding at Gully after lunch, and I did not want to chase a ball because I'm so full from eating all the beautiful food they've got there.
Yeah, no doubt. Next one from F Marshall _22 again, and Michael Coucher. Hardest person to face in the nets or bowler you hated to face?
Well, I hated facing Mitchell Johnson in the nets.
Yeah.
He was horrible, as was Brett Lee. Just both lightning fast. Mitch Johnson would often say, well, you're going to cop bounces in the game, so I might as well practice them in the nets, and I need to practice my bounces as well. So he said he told he was going to give you a few bumpers. And Brett Lee was horrible as well because he used to bowl massive no balls in the nets too. So that was not much fun. Facing Brett Lee bowling 150 k's an hour off about 18 metres. You're in survival mode, I can assure you.
Michael Coucher again. Who did you love to bat with out in the middle the most, if there's one that comes to mind?
Oh, Ricky Ponting was the best to bat with. He's just always so positive. He had like an intensity about him, and he was always like encouraging, and he's a great runner between the wickets. Plus, I think the bowlers were petrified bowling to him. That sort of took a bit of pressure off me, so they sort of relaxed, and you get a few more loose balls when you're batting with Ricky. But yeah, he was fantastic to bat with.
Yeah, Michael Coucher again. Most meaningful or memorable innings?
Well, the Amazing Adelaide one that we spoke about, that's the one that jumps to mind. I really enjoyed that game. Being out there to hit those winning runs was just something I'll never ever forget. But there's so many. It's hard to sort of pick one. My very first one-day game for Australia was at the Wacker in front of home fans. I only got 17 not out at the end, but that was a really special day as well. To play your first game for Australia in front of your home crowd was awesome. Your first Test match is always incredible. The first Test 100 is incredible. So yeah, there's so many experiences. Winning the World Cup in 2007 in the West Indies, that was, that's probably the second best feeling I've ever had on a cricket field. So it's hard to break it all down, but yeah, there's some special times.
Yeah.
Now this one's from Jonah Lincoln _03. I'm not sure who this is, but they say, tell us about Maurice.
Well, okay. Best way to explain Maurice is, so basically everyone sort of sees me, and this is what I'm like. I'm quite an intense guy, very serious about my cricket. I train really hard, and my preparation is very important, and I wanted to be ready, and I'd give 100% effort to every single ball of every game that I played. And I wanted to win. I was very competitive, wanted to win. And so, that sort of intensity sort of came out all the way I sort of played the game. But once you finish a Test match for Australia, you can sit back in the dressing room and just relax. You can, all the pressure's off. You've done all the hard work. You played the game. You can really just relax and just enjoy each other's company, and the celebration or the commiserations can sort of begin. And I love that. I love being in the dressing room after a Test match and just being able to relax, get the music playing, have a laugh, take the mickey out of each other, celebrate a great win. And the boys were like, and I'd be, mucking around and laughing and joking and telling jokes and having a great time. And the boys would be like, who are you? Like on the field, you're this crazy, intense sort of guy, but then off the field, you're this like relaxed, chilled out sort of, idiot carrying on, in the celebrations. And so it was like, okay, you got Mike on the field and you got Maurice, he's the guy off the field. So that's where it all sort of came from. I love to celebrate a Test match, whether we won, lost or draw.
Yeah. Zach Clodia, I think it is. How did you train / play to become the player you were?
Well, I love training, and I trained very hard, particularly as a young player. I did a lot of work, probably overtrained a little bit, but I did a lot of. I didn't just do work on my batting. I did a lot of work on fielding. I did a lot of work on fitness, strength. Made sure my diet was good. Worked very hard on my mental skills. So it wasn't just skills training. It was basically a holistic approach. To get the best out of yourself, you can't just be good in one area. You've got to try and be the best you can be in the whole area. So, or all areas of cricket. And training. So, yeah, I worked very, very hard on all facets of my game.
Yeah, for sure. This second last one from Barrow 0706. I know we've asked it before, but love the listeners, so you can't skip questions. Favorite part of Amazing Adelaide, I'm sure the end, but
hitting the winning runs was the best feeling I've ever had on a cricket field. But it was pretty good after the game as well. We talk about Maurice. The celebration in the dressing room was pretty very enjoyable as well. And quite a few of the English players came in and we're having a good chat to them and a good laugh about the game. And it was time for Justin Langer. He was leading the team song at that stage, for him to take the team song. And so Freddie Flintoff, who was captain of the English cricket team, he wanted to stay around and be part of our team song, which was amazing. So Justin Langer had great delight in kicking out the English captain so we could, so he could lead our team song in victory. It was great.
Yeah, no doubt. Last one here from Jenny Wallace. Is it true you used to go down to the local park in full kit and shadow bat out an entire innings?
No, that is not true. I can't say I've ever done that. The only crazy thing I probably did do once was I was playing for Wanneroo and we had the bye. So I wasn't happy that I wasn't getting a game that weekend. So I got my batting coach and we went into the old shed there at Kingsway and we had a full day training session. So we went for 6 hours. We started at 11 o'clock. We batted the first session. He was doing throwdowns and underarm drills and bowling machine. Then we had a lunch break. and then we went between lunch and tea, and then we had another short break for tea, and then we went from tea till stumps, and we hit, I don't know how many balls we hit that day. It must have been close to 1,000, I reckon, maybe even more. But yeah, it was that was probably the only craziest thing I did was do the 6-hour training session.
Yeah.
Well, they do say train the way you play, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it came from Alan Border. He was my hero, and he sort of just said, look, how do you guys expect to learn how to bat all day when you bat for 15 minutes in the nets? You know, how do you expect to bowl 30 overs in the day when you bowl for 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the nets? You've got to learn to bat all day. So that was the thinking behind it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Mike, this is all we've got for you today. We can't thank you enough for your time. We've loved your coverage on Fox Cricket this summer and the past couple of summers. Safe travels and all the best for the rest of the year.
Good on you, Bray. Good on you, Ethan. Thanks very much, mate. Nice to reminisce.
Appreciate it, as always. Thank you to everyone who has watched or listened to this, as it should be up on YouTube as well. We should be back in the normal studio this time, or by the time episode 2 will come out. So if you haven't already checked us out on the socials, we plan for a big year ahead. Ethan, thanks as always. We'll be back next week.
Until then, see you next time.